Right, how's it going, guys? My name is Paulo. I'm taking over the stream today for Matt, and today we're previewing tomorrow's game for the Portuguese Cup finals, the semi-finals. Sorry, Portuguese Cup, but the semi-finals Portuguese Cup is Sporting versus Porto. Pretty massive game, and today I've got Sam Fonseca with me. How you doing, Sam?
I'm all good, man. We spoke a little bit off stream. There is definitely a packed schedule for both teams, but I thought even though the last game maybe wasn't that interesting in terms of the full 90 minutes, it was interesting to see the fallout and everything that happened after. So probably see more of the same. But yeah, thank you for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
No worries, man. Thank you for coming. Actually, we can actually start on the last game because obviously the last 3 weeks ago or so we were on this channel to preview the Sporting game for the league, and that ended in a 1-1. And I just what were your thoughts of that game? Because that was, as you mentioned, right, that the fallout from the game, and it was a massive game.
Yeah, I mean, the performance, I thought in the first sort of 25 minutes, I thought we played really well, and we just sort of took our foot off the brake. I do think a lot of people won't factor in that we were away, and that the Dragão, especially when in a big game like a Sporting versus Benfica, the crowd do add the atmosphere, and they are, as cliche as is the 12th man in that scenario. But then when Porto took the lead, I thought we were in trouble because we didn't really look that threatening from, I think the biggest chance I remember was Fresneda's shot that went like miles over the bar. So when Porto scored, I think weirdly it's what we needed as well, because as soon as you guys scored it, we did sort of go on the front foot, and I guess you were trying to hold the lead. But when we got that penalty, which I think it was a penalty, it was I felt a bit sorry for Francisco Moura, because like he is sort of like a not natural position, but like a split second thing, like you don't really think about it in that moment. So I felt bad for him, obviously. When Luis Suarez had his initial penalty saved, I was just like, man, like there's no beating this Porto team. There's no dropping points. But luckily, the follow up was okay. But yeah, I think the fallout of the game was mostly the talking point. I don't think a lot of people remember so much what happened during the 90 minutes, and the stuff with the ball boys and things. And to me, I made a video about it on my personal channel, and I just said I understand. You want to do everything you can to win, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the slogans on the walls and stuff. The ball boys, maybe you could argue, is not sportsmanlike, but at the end of the day, it didn't really affect much, I suppose, because it was 1-1. I don't think it would have affected anything in the long run. But yeah, the fallout was arguably the talking point from that game.
Yeah, and I agree with the ball boy point. It was not sportsmanlike, and it was unnecessary. And I get wanting to do everything you can to win, but I think in them situations, it also just, if like what happens where we don't win, it just makes it like, oh, well, you did all that just to not win. It's pointless. It just and I think like all the top three teams we don't need to give each other more fuel, because that's all we do. We're like the league of the like press releases on social media. That's all. Like all three teams just constantly, they don't need to give each other fuel to complain, and I think it's just pointless. The penalty, that was heartbreaking, because as soon as he saved it, you just know where it's going, and it's like it's just. But yeah, I think a draw is probably the most fair result. I think Sporting maybe did, you had some chances, but I do think a draw was fair, as much as it was heartbreaking to concede in that manner in the last minute, and it was 100% a penalty. There's no you can't argue. Francisco Moura, like, I guess I feel bad for him, but at the same time, it's like, why are you putting your hand up just as he's I don't know. It's just It was so avoidable, and it's a shame, because that win, I do think going into this period of games that Porto are going to have, that win would have taken a bit of like a pressure off, where obviously you want to win all these games, but we're going to talk about it, but we both of us got massive games coming up, and having that 7 points would have made it a lot easier in the long run. But yeah, like I do think you're right. It was fair, and yeah, it was just a shame because to me, I reckon we could do a whole live stream just on the way our teams and Benfica, just the way they use social media. To me, it's shameful. Like the way they're constantly going at each other. Porto and Benfica did it to Sporting. With the 2 games in Santa Clara, they did it where they put out statements. And the worst one for me was the cup game. We've put a statement out about your cup game, that penalty you got in there. And it's like, bro, it's a cup. Like, I get the league. I understand it in the long, but you're doing it about the cup game. It's like, come on now. And
yeah, there was one you guys did as well. I think it was on that AVS Cup game where it was like, you said, oh, Human should have had a red card. And it's like, I understand saying like, fair enough, like maybe he should have seen a red, but the game didn't concern you. And
that's what kills me. I think but like doing it in the league is annoying as well. But the one where because it was the Santa Clara league game where it was the phantom corner, and then it was the Santa Clara cup game with the penalty. But it's like, what? Who cares? Like, why are you doing? It's not about us. So he says it doesn't concern us. But yeah, I think this is topic for another day. But I think both.
I just want to add one more point to that, if you don't mind. So I used to be, when growing up, because my dad's pretty hardcore sporting fan. My family are, you get that feeling that like the bias, like the referees are against you and all of this stuff. Like every time you don't win, it's the referees. Growing up now, and now that I'm of age to sort of see everything, sporting fans think they're robbed every season. Porto think they're robbed every season. Benfica. If you all think you're robbed, then the reality is none of you are robbed, or the referees are just terrible. And it's both of them combined.
It's both. It's the referees are terrible, but if there's anyone that's robbed, it's all other 15 teams in the league, because they're the ones that get, there's occasionally they get decisions that go for them. Like the one I can think of, the Benfica played Casapia and they got a penalty where it's like
it
wasn't a penalty, but they're the ones that get like decisions against them. Like even like this weekend with the Porto game, it happens all the time. So yeah, I think it's just a league of complainers. But
that AVS one where it was like 8 minutes, they had to check that VAR, and it was just never a penalty. And like I remember sitting there, I'd be like, it's never a penalty. And then they gave it. I was like, it took you 8 minutes or not. I think it could have been 10 or 12 minutes. They took them to get the wrong result. Like, it's just the league is in shambles. The refereeing is in shambles.
It's shambolic, honestly. But yeah, Matt said, good evening, guys, in the chat. So good evening, Matt. But to be fair, what I want to go to next, actually, is I wanted to speak about Sporting's last few games that you guys have had. And let me see if I can get up the games that you've been playing. We've both of us have played 3 games since 3 league games since that that Monday night game. Still can't believe we play Monday nights. I think that's because of the Europa League. We've played so many Monday night games. I just can't really. It's Tuesday and Monday.
And they're always so late, aren't they? It's like 8:45. I don't want to stay up that late to start 11 p.m. to watch football.
This is exactly how I feel. But so here I've got Sporting's game. You after the Porto game, you guys played against Famalicão, Moreirense, and Estoril. You got 3 wins on the bounce, 2 games where you won 3-0. What are your thoughts on those games?
I mean, the Estoril one was the one I felt the most danger going into, because I think Estoril, attacking wise this season, have been, I would say, the best outside of the big 4, or the big 4 currently. And the Moreirense one, again, going away is always a tough one, but I felt more confident about that game. But the fact that we played against Estoril really well, they didn't really have that many chances from outside the box, from inside the box. A lot of them were from outside the box. I thought we played really well. Again, Famalicão for us has been a sort of a bogey team, so it was good to get that over the line. Even though it was a 1-0, I didn't really think we were in danger of losing that lead. But I look at the fixtures we've had and the ones coming up, especially. We've managed to stay pretty far away from dropping points. 2-3-0s in a row. The one against Estoril was fantastic. It felt like we were going to score with every opportunity. I think the first half we played there was the best first half we've had in quite a while. But as you see coming up, obviously we've got the Porto game coming up, then Braga, Bodo Glimt. The Tondela game I think has just been rescheduled to the week after. But those 2 games against Bodo Glimt, especially the away one on an artificial pitch, that's where injuries happen, man. So that one is terrifying. And yeah, Braga as well. That one scares me, especially if you look at that Porto, Braga, Bodo. Like that is 3 very tough games. And Braga, although haven't been up to scratch this season, the one thing I'll say about Vicens is that he sets up really well in big games. They play really well. So, and they took points from us at home, so away is going to be a lot harder. But the run we've been up to at this point, I think, no respect to any of the teams we're playing, I think we can beat them. I don't think it's a case of I'm going into the games thinking, oh man, we're going to lose this one or we're going to drop points. I think the way we've been playing, the way we've played, maybe not in the big games in the league, but in Europe, I think gives me confidence to say hopefully that we can do well in these games.
I agree. I think realistically, these 2 games coming up are going to be tough. But I think Bodo Glimt have been amazing, but I think you guys, I still trust that you guys get the job done. And you guys, you're probably playing the best football in the league. Well, you are, so not probably. You are playing the best football in the league because Porto on it. And, I think you guys have a really, really good team. You've got a tough run of games, but I do think you could definitely win all 3 of them.
That Bodo Glimt away is if we can get a decent result there, even if it's like a 1-0 loss, like if we get a decent enough result there, I trust us at home to perform. But it's that I'm disappointed. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I prefer the away game first or last. I guess having it first gets out of the way. But
you want to get out of the way. If you go in there and you don't lose. And one thing to point out for these European games as well, we only need 1 win from a Portuguese side to guarantee us a 3rd Champions League spot. So really, like any one of us winning these games is quite important for us and for us as a country. To be fair, but I think you guys, I think you guys will do well. And I know if you win, you most likely play Arsenal. So is that right?
Yeah. Unless they lose to Leverkusen.
But they're going which I don't know. Would you go to that?
I would try my best. I don't know if tickets are that easy to come by because I went to the last one in Europe in the Europa League, so I'd hope to go again. But I think again. I feel like no matter what happens against Bodo, we're either out in this round or the next. But as long as we sort of play to the way we can, like losses will happen eventually. So as long as we give ourselves a good account of the fixture, I suppose I'm not too fussed.
No,
obviously I'd like to go further, but
I think he also with the title race. I don't think it's a bad thing not going that far because you do get you get less games, and I think it's kind of how I'm feeling about the Europa League at the moment. In the since the Sporting game, Porto have played Nacional, Rio Ave, and Aroca, 1 all 3. I will say the Nacional game was tough, but going away to the islands, we mentioned it in the last stream, it's never easy. You always worry about losing points in those. We got the job done. We played poorly, but we got the job done. It's also got to note that since the Sporting game, we have been without Samu and we will be for the rest of the season. And I've been guilty of complaining about Samu and criticizing at times. But the gulf of talent between him and Dennis Gall is second. It's night and day. Even like I think we showed how much trust we have in Samu with how much we built. The play was built through him, and a lot of times, there'll be a lot of times where it wouldn't go anywhere because his ball play isn't amazing. But when you compare it, I don't see us doing the same with Gall. We barely try to start play with Gall, and he shows the confidence that Farioli did have in Samu and the lack of confidence he has in Dennis Gall. The difference is crazy. But yeah, that was a tough game to win against Nacional. Against Rio Ave, it was 1-0. I think that's a game where I think that flatters them, that score. We should have won by more than 1-0, and it was frustrating because then you get to the end of the games and you're feeling stressed because you're like you feel like you could concede, which is what happened in the next game against Aroca, where we probably should have been 2 or 3-0 up before Aroca equalised. But we ended up getting the job done with a penalty that is controversial. Maybe is a soft penalty. There is a touch to Fofana, but it is probably a soft penalty. But as we mentioned, these small teams are the ones that get get kind of cheated, and then we got Terry Moffi scored his first goal for Porto. I will say one thing. I will say about Porto, and I haven't seen a lot of people talking about this, but I think our defense is the best in the league, right? And on
Agreed.
paper, but I think the amount of goals we've conceded in the league kind of flatters us a bit, where we do give chances, and that's why we have conceded more in the Europa League, because we are there to be like taken, like, and that's what happened. It was a good goal, don't get me wrong, but I'm not surprised really that we conceded, and I think there are games where we can concede more than we have, and I think sometimes I do think our defense is good, but I think the lack of goals that we conceded sometimes, I don't know, it isn't as good as that 7 goals.
You know what's strange, that like it's going to sound a bit strange, but I think Diogo Costa has become somewhat of underrated for you guys, because I think you look at like Bednarek and Kiwior and all these good centre backs, Thiago Silva, that you've brought in, but some of the saves he's made to keep you in games or to save you points is fantastic. I'd say he's probably in the best stretch of his career, maybe from the Euros where he saves all those penalties. But I think right now he's sort of in the best stage of his career, but he sort of goes underrated because Bednarek is winning the most player of the matches or player of the months, whatever it is. But no one really speaks about Diogo Costa like that. But we all know he's fantastic, but he's just sort of going under the radar.
Against Nacional, he had a save where it was a corner, and their striker Ramirez has got 13 goals a season. He's also, like, random stat, but he's got the most won aerial duels in the league. And he had a header, and it was just kind of like reflex that Diogo just put his arm out and just whacked him right in the arm, but that was going in. Like it was poor defending really, but yeah, I think he's very underrated. Like he's fantastic. Like it's a bit of a tangent, but you know how maybe you feel the same, maybe especially an English-based sporting fan, where it's like a lot of people look at players that play for our teams and for Benfica, and if they stay for us for a long time, it's like, oh, they look kind of down upon, or they're only doing it. I think the player that's kind of similar boat for you guys is Bot, Pedro Gonçalves, where he might never leave, but is that a bad thing? Like, probably not. Like, you'd keep him. He's one of the best players. He's probably your best player and one of the best players that you've had in a long time. Same that way I feel about Costa. So yeah,
almost like Rui Patricio as well back in the day. I know we're going a bit further back, but like I know he had his moments, but when he was on form, I would still say he was probably top 10 keepers in the world. I remember one year specifically against Chelsea in the Champions League where he was insane, like saving absolutely everything, and obviously Portugal Euro 2016 as well. But I think it's a case of with Patricio that he left a bit too late. Like, understand, like you said, like having the goalkeeper there. Having a goalkeeper for a long time is really good, because some goalkeepers don't fit in well, even if they are, great goalkeepers. But Rui Patricio was there for ages. But I think maybe he left it a bit too late, because he sort of only had 3 or 4 years at Wolves in a Roma, and then retirement really. So maybe fair play to Diogo Costa for staying this long. I'm still surprised he is here, and I don't mean that as a dig to Porto in any means, but I just think he's so good. I'm surprised. Chelsea, for example, I don't rate Robert Sanchez that much, and I think Diogo Costa is an upgrade on Robert Sanchez, and there's so many other keepers you can name throughout Europe as well.
I completely agree. I think he probably won't be here that long, but I think I would take him forever personally. Matt did have a couple comments, and he's put in that Prem refs greater than Portuguese refs, greater than EFL refs. I think the EFL refs and Portuguese refs might be on the same boat, but he asked, how do you reflect on Sporting's run to the final? And I will get Sporting's run up to the final right here. So you guys, in the third round, you guys played Basfreira. You won 3-2 after extra time. You then beat Marinhense 3-0. And then beat Santa Clara, the game we mentioned, both these games mentioned after extra time, 3-2, and against AVS 3-2. How do you reflect on this run?
It's been poor. I know we've won the games, but under no circumstances should any of the big three, or any of the top 8 really, be drawing to AVS to make it go into extra time. Santa Clara, I think, is a bit different because we all know Santa Clara away is a very tough game, especially in the winter months. I still think we should have handled that game a bit differently. But the AVS one, it's weird because it was 2 penalties that AVS got to make it go into extra time. So it wasn't a performance issue. It was just, I think I said it last time, that the issue I have for Sporting with a lot of the time is not the manager. It's the little mistakes that cost us, whether it's Hjulmand against Braga pulling the guy's shirt when the ball's gone. That's, 2 points wasted. We only got a point from that game. Against AVS, 2 penalties given away means the extra time. And really where we didn't need extra time, especially in the run-up to some of the games we've had. Like I said, Santa Clara I can understand, but again, Pacha Ferreira, like, we shouldn't be going into extra time. I know it was a very heavily rotated team, but there's no excuse. And, I will say I don't want to look ahead from Porto, don't get me wrong, but no disrespect to the other two teams, whoever wins this semi-final has like a 99% chance of winning. Obviously, there's still that 1%, and that maybe it's a bit higher than 1%, maybe it's a bit lower. But this right here is going to decide pretty much who the winner is. And I think if you look at Porto in the Europa League as well, I think they are still, maybe not without Samu, but I still think you can have a good cup run as well. So who knows what the end of the season could look like for you guys? 2 titles, 3, like, who knows?
Yeah, I agree. This is a title side as much as even with Porto in the final, it would still, obviously I want to win everything, but I wouldn't be sad if either FAF or Torriense won a cup, which are the next, the other semi-final is between FAF and Torriense. FAF, who are in the 3rd division in Liga 3, and Torriense in the 2nd division. And yeah, just I think it's just a really good story. I think this year has been good for Portuguese football with Vitória winning the Taça de Liga, the League Cup. I think it's been a pretty good year for Portuguese teams. I will just quickly go over Porto's run to the finals, to the semi-finals. So in the first 2 games, we played, just really like lower division teams. Sul-Riquense, we beat 4-0. Simprense, we beat 3-0. Obviously, easy games, really. Then we beat Famalicão 4-1, which, to be honest, was a bit of a surprise, beating them by that many goals. It was a tight game in the first half. The second half, our quality showed, and it's one of the few games where our quality has showed and where we have scored a lot of goals. We haven't been doing that too much this season. And then we beat Benfica 1-0, which, very tight game. That was a very, very tight game. But I do think, we were deserved winners, but it was a very tight game. And I think it will be a similar game, probably be similar, so we'll get into, before we get into actually that, I'll just quickly see any more comments. Joaquim Gomes has said he wants a victory for his Sporting, and he put in Portuguese, como digo sempre, Sporting até morrer. Obviously, Joaquim, I hope you do not see your team win, but I thank you for putting in. And Matt has put in that he saw Moffi score that 3rd goal, and that in the last game he felt Moro was unlucky because he thought he defended it very well until the penalty incident. He did defend well. I actually think that game, quickly before we go, that game in the first half, I thought Jenny was fantastic.
He was so good, yeah.
And I think Martin Fernandes was getting cooked in the beginning, but I'm not his biggest fan, but he grew into the game. I think he grew into the game and started to defend Jenny well, but I don't know if it was just because Jenny wasn't very fit. Didn't look fit towards the end. I think he looked like he was getting tired, but I think he was very good.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
And I think that's the one thing from that game I'll say is this: the one benefit of having a Borja Sainz, where he helped Martin against Jenny like a lot, especially after the first 20 minutes. But Jenny was really good, and yeah, I think if he does play tomorrow, I think we will be in trouble. Especially if Martin's not fit, so we'll probably play Mora over Zaidu. But yeah, I just think and then you got Matt has just commented again saying he remembers celebrating that Bednarek goal in London. It was great to see Bednarek be a difference maker. Yeah, I think I personally think Bednarek is quality. I think he's better than Kivior, but I think he's better.
It's
I think
tough.
he has been better. I don't know. I think it's just his leadership. I think does take it over there, and then he has that ability to score goals. But we'll now get into the game tomorrow. So yeah, like, I know we mentioned it kind of sporadically throughout this event live, but what do you think about tomorrow's game, and what's your prediction?
The thing is, it's very easy to say like maybe both teams rotate, but I don't think either of us have the numbers to rotate really. You know, Porto definitely have more of an injury crisis than we do, but we still potentially missing Ioannidis, who might not be fit. Pedro Gonçalves isn't back to match fitness. The Bast isn't back to match fitness. There isn't really much rotation you can do. I think it will still be a strong 11 from us. I really don't know if Pedro Gonçalves is going to start. That seems to be what the newspapers are saying. But I think, like you mentioned, we've like Jenny playing really well, and you've got Trincao, who I think is a difference maker in a lot of the big games. Maybe not this season, but in seasons previous. And then Luis Suarez, the goal scoring numbers sort of argue themselves. But I think it will be a very tough game. The one thing I hate about the Taça de Portugal is the sort of leeway in between the first and second leg. Like the first leg is on the 3rd of March, and the second leg isn't until like the 21st of April. So it's a month and a half of just waiting for that second leg, which I just really dislike. I wish it was a bit more closer together, but that's a story for another day. But I think in terms of cup runs, maybe not in the early rounds, but I feel like Sporting has slowly grown in, like the Champions League, for example, and hopefully we can do the same in the Taça. I think your injury crisis might be your undoing, especially, we mentioned it a bit before going on stream, but Samu compared to Dennis Gould, and I like Dennis Gould, but I don't think he's good enough to start right now. I think he will be maybe a year or two, but right now I just don't think he's at the required level. I don't think Moffy has shown me anything either that I think he can replace Samu in that aspect as well. And I mentioned it last time we were here, your wingers just aren't that great at goal scoring, really. Borja Sainz has a few goals. William Gomez can score from screamers from outside the box, but I mean, I feel like we're definitely a lot better on the goal scoring front. I think being at home is a massive advantage to us because we can take the lead into the away leg, and depending on how much, if we do lead, that is, depending how much we are leading by or something like that, it is more beneficial to us because I think both of us definitely have a lot of, we both have the difficult amount of games in between this leg and the second, but I think the pressure is on you guys really to keep up the momentum. I think even like with us, I think we still can't count Benfica out this title race as much as people want to say, it's too far back. They're only 3 points behind us. So I don't think there's anything counting out Benfica, especially considering they play both of us coming up. So it can be, I will never count Benfica out of a title race, especially Mourinho out of a title race as well. So, I mean, I think the fixture list we both have is gonna really have us both in trouble. But I think even speaking with my heart and my head, I would say Sporting are definitely the favourites, at least for this leg, depending on how many other injuries we have, both of us have between now and the second leg. I'd say right now, Sporting are the favourites to go through.
I think that's fair. I probably would agree with that. But Matt has asked who benefits more from Sporting having the first leg at home. What do you think? I actually think that's a interesting one because with it being at the end of April, us playing if we can keep it a tight score for the first, if it's either draw or we lose, if we draw or win, I think it benefits us going home, playing at home the second leg, and also what I'm thinking is at the end of our run gets easier for in around middle of April onwards, where because obviously the way in Portugal it works, you basically play the same in the same you play the same teams in the same order as you played in the first round, and the way it worked, and at the end of the last year, we basically played all the bottom of the league teams in the last 5 or 6 games. Basically, like we played all the top teams in the beginning, and then so I think it will be a similar thing, and I think it will benefit us playing Sporting at home that late into the season, where we can probably hopefully rest. If we're still 4 points ahead of you guys in the league, we can maybe rest against a Tondela or against Alverca at home, and then play. We could have more of our starters, but then also that does depend on our run in the Europa League. So yeah, I do think. What do you think? Do you think it benefits you guys more playing home right now in the first leg, or would it benefit you playing home at the end of the season?
I say right now it benefits us just because I think since that Casapia game, I know you've been winning games, but like you mentioned, Nacional was not very convincing. Rio Ave maybe was a bit flattering, but even against Roca, I don't think, we can talk about the penalty for ages, but I don't think you look particularly great in that game either. So I think right now is where Porto's confidence is probably the lowest it has been in a while. And I have said previously, I think Porto's response to that Casapia game will be if they come win the title. Because if they came out and they started playing poorly, which I don't think you've been playing bad per se, but you've not been playing as you have been previously. And I think that's probably just Sam Mourinho doing a Kiwi or
I think we've been on par with how we were in the games before Casapia where we were winning 1-0. I think we've been I think my thing about I think against Soroka we had our moments, but then we can be a bit open. But I think one thing that shows from that game is, maybe this is completely wrong, is just the way we've reacted to goals all throughout the season, and in that game when we score after being in a drawing position, or the times we've scored after losing. I don't know. There's something about the mentality, because I think we're just mentality merchants. We ain't. That's basically all we are. And then there's something about the mentality of the team that's telling me that is what's going to push us through these games. Like, I don't know, just the way we react. I saw it against being in the stadium against Estrela da Amadora. We were winning, then they equalized, and then our reaction to scoring the 2-1 was like we'd won the cup. And it's like, I don't know if that might not mean anything, but just to me, I do think it is the mentality that, like, anytime we do get adversity, we can almost always overcome it.
Yeah, no, I hear you, but the only thing that points me to the opposite direction is, hypothetically, if you lose tomorrow, you've got Benfica up next, then you've got Stuttgart up next, and then I think after that, you've got Moreirense, who, like I said, they're not an easy team to beat.
Yeah, Moreirense are going to be a tough team, yeah.
So losing, it could either go one of two ways. If you do lose to Sporting, maybe it fires you up more for Benfica, or if you win against Sporting, you'll still fire up for Benfica. So it could either go two ways, but I don't know. Like I agree, you guys are sort of mentality monsters, and I think that's how Farioli set you up, and I think he's done really well in that aspect. But I do wonder, if you do take a loss to Sporting in tomorrow, and then you have to go to Benfica, is that mentality going to be cracked a little bit? But I guess only time will tell. But yeah, that's my not worry, because obviously I would like it to happen.
Yeah,
but
you like, I mean, obviously for me, that game against Benfica will be like, for me. I think I don't know if this game impacts the Benfica game. Obviously, I want to win every game, but the league. I know this is previewing the cup game, but the league obviously is so important, and I do think we'll turn up for that game. I'm looking forward. I think it's going to be tough, but I think this is going to be the biggest stretch to see what we can do and if Porto can actually overcome it. But I think tomorrow, like, it's going to be tough. You guys are really, really good. At the moment, I feel like if I was to say prediction, I do think Sport will probably get it done. But I think it'll be tight. But I do think it will be, the Sporting will get it done. Quickly, before I go, I'm going to ask you about what your starting level is going to be. Before I go into that, Matt Azar, I said this game is probably Moffy's time to claim a starting spot. So I don't think he's going to start. I'll get into my starting level. He's not fit. He's not fit to start. I saw a video of him after the game where he looked dead, and he didn't even play that much. So I don't think Moffy is ready to start. So I think Dennis Gould is going to start, and I think that is a problem. But yeah, he's just not ready. I don't think he's ready. I think before he came to Porto, he hadn't played since the end of November. I think against Porto was his last game, or one of his last games when he played in the Europa League. So he basically went 2 months without playing. Yeah, he's not going to start. But yeah, going in starting 11s. What's your starting 11 for tomorrow?
I just want to say before I get into that, the new Polish kid you signed, Oscar. I mentioned your wingers not being good, but he is just a level above. Like, he is so good.
The thing is, so it's like, it's one of them where he he just offers something so different to all our wingers. Because I think all our wingers are, well, you mentioned it, I think all of them are below par. And like William Gomes has his moments coming off the bench, and then he'll get rewarded with a start spot the next game, and he won't do anything. Oscar, at least, like Oscar has this thing of one, he's direct, and none of our wingers are direct. So that's a big thing. But, and I think he's got this thing that I hope doesn't get beaten out of it. And it is one, if he gets the ball and makes a mistake, he'll just go again. Like he'll go again. He won't let it, oh no, I can't do that. I can't go take the defender on because I lost the ball. Because he has lost the ball a lot in these games, but he at least he's fast and he does something different. And yeah, I think Matt is saying that Oscar and Gomes are our best wingers. I agree, but I think Gomes is also, I don't know if he's that guy. I think Oscar is by far our most impactful winger in the short amount of time. I think he could really be something. And I think the wingers is something that we're going to have to look at in the summer, because I think we have to move on from Pepe. We've got to move on from him. He's okay, but he's not great. And William Gomes, I think he's okay, and he could maybe be great, but he's too inconsistent. But Oscar, at least when he's making mistakes, you at least can, at least he's not cutting in and making a mistake. That's my thing. I like wingers these days. It's like, for me, it's like watching Portugal and watching Rafael Leão. Yeah, he might make mistakes, but I'd rather watch him take a winger on than cut in and pass back like Bernardo Silva will do on the right. Like that, because I went to the Euros, and that's basically what I was seeing. I was seeing Rafael Leão get the ball, lose the ball 7 out of 10 times, but at least he's bloody trying. And I'm seeing Bernardo Silva get the ball and pass it back, and he's just like so. And Matt was saying, I agree about Oscar, and he's for sure our most effective wide player. Yeah, it's crazy how 17-year-olds come in and impacted the team like that. And it's just a shame. It's a shame about the other wingers, in my opinion, because they're just not good enough. And it's crazy. I do actually think it's crazy how well we've done this season with basically having ineffective wingers for the most part of the season. But what's your starting 11 saying for tomorrow?
So I wouldn't change it much from the league. I would still have, of course, Rhys Silva in goal. I think the back four would still be Maxi Rujo, Inacio, Diamonde. And I mean, I don't like Fresneda, but he's probably going to start because he just never is benched, apparently. So yeah, I guess you have to throw Fresneda in there. I think the midfield pivot is the most interesting one, because I think Hjulmand and Morita recently have been really good. I think they've probably had their best stretch of form as a pair over the last few games. But I really like what João Simões offers to the game in terms of carrying the ball. He reminds me a little bit of a younger Mateus Nunes when he was here. He can sort of carry the ball up. He is quite quick, and sometimes it goes against him if he's traveling up the pitch and loses the ball. But I think at least for the start, I would have Hjulmand and Morita starting. The wingers is interesting because we mentioned about Oscar, but Luis Guilherme has been fantastic for us since joining. And I think one of the benefits of having him is that he hasn't played a lot for West Ham. So he's coming pretty much a fresh new player, brand new player that, he's done his preseason, so he's probably physically fit, but we don't have to worry about him, knock on wood, picking up an injury or fatigued or anything like that. So I would start him, definitely, Trincao, and I would actually start Pedro Gonçalves instead of Jenny, just because I think Jenny off the bench against the tired Porto team probably is a lot more effective than Pedro Gonçalves off the bench versus a tired Porto team. As good as Jenny is, and I love Jenny Katama, but I think you'd want him against tired legs more than you would starting. And I think also you wouldn't want Pedro Gonçalves coming off the bench. I think Pedro Gonçalves is best when he starts. And then, Luis Suarez up top for me.
I can see your point. I think Jenny coming on against whoever's at left back for Porto that's a problem for us. I think that's a really good starting 11. And Luis Guilherme has been really good, and I'm glad that it's good to see someone that didn't get the chance there and go in the sport. And I think it's a really good decision for him. I think for me, for Porto, is interesting. I think I would go with Diogo Costa in goal. I think it will be Alberto Costa. I think it's going to be Bednarek, and I'm thinking, part of me thinks it's going to be actually Thiago Silva. It will be Bednarek and Kivior. I think Thiago Silva still will come from an injury. I think Mulder will play a left back over Zaidu, even though I think Zaidu has actually been quite
He's
good.
been all right. Yeah, I know he's not that liked, I think, across your fan base, as in like I think they like the character, but not the player.
Nah, they're Porto fans, they're liars because they're on social media. They hate him. I've been when I went to see Porto versus Nacional. Zaidu came off the bench. Yeah, every time he got the ball, because you feel like anytime he gets the ball, he can do something. He's like a Ferrari with no driver in it because he's fast. Yeah, so like he gets the ball and all the fans just start shouting his name. So it's like I think they do like him. I generally do, and I think but I think he has been quite good, and I think him and Oscar on the left is quite dangerous. I think it creates something, and the overlapping has been quite good. But I think Moda will start. I think Varela is going to start in DM. He was suspended for the last game, and I think he will play. I can see Rosario playing, and because Varela against Rio what Varela was on his fourth yellow, and he basically like forced the referee to get him a yellow. It was like he was trying to argue, he was just basically arguing with the ref, like to try to get a yellow, and then so he didn't miss the Benfica game. And then I think it will be Vega and Froholt. I would like to see more to play, but I think it'll be Vega and Froholt because they were effective. They played really well, actually. I would probably, if it was up to me, I'd keep Rosario over Vidal because I think in the first half they were really good against Aroca, and I think it was the changes that maybe kind of weakened our midfield. And then I think it's going to be Pepe on the left, William Gomes on the right, and then you go up front. I don't think Oscar's going to play. I think that he will be. I think Farioli will be conservative with playing Oscar in a game like this, and I think obviously Boris Sainz he won't be playing. I'm pretty sure his mum passed away, so I don't think he'll be playing. And yeah, that's what I believe will be the starting 11. Matt has put in that he thinks it's gonna be Diogo Costa, Alberto Costa, Bednarek, Kivio, Zaidu, Paulo Zario, Froholt, Fofana, William Gomes, Dennis Gould, and Oscar. I would like to see Fofana. To be fair, he scored in that game against Sporting, and it was his first game, and he got the penalty against Aroca, and I think he looks to be quite good. I would like to see him start. I just don't think. I don't know. I just feel like Farioli is weird. Farioli does rotate, but then he also has these games where I think he will be conservative. But I think. Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I think it'll be a really tight game. I am predicting that Sporting probably are going to win. I can see a 2-1, but I'm hoping it doesn't happen. What's your prediction for the score?
I think it's always going to be a low-scoring game, so I think it'll probably just be a 1-0. I just don't see us breaking down Porto's defense, especially you mentioned Bednarek being better than Kiwior, but both of them together are fantastic and. As good as Thiago Silva is and career has been, that I did feel like it was a bit of not a needless signing because if he comes on a free, he comes on a free. But with Bednarek and Kiwior playing the way they have, I don't know Kiwior could play out on the left, but I think Kiwior's best position is next to Bednarek in the defensive centre back partnership. So I think it's going to be a very tough game for both teams. I don't think it will be as fiery as the League One just because there's a second leg to this. But yeah, I'll be interested to see if there is a lot of rotation because you mentioned, you can go with Fofana, you can go with Mora. We could go with something like Simoes and Vainidis, just because both of us have so many features coming up that maybe the odd rotation here and there won't be that bad. DeBasti apparently is in the team, but I don't know if he's going to start or if he's going to play. But he's been out since, I think, October, November. So it'd be good to see him back in. I don't know about Ioannidis as well, but he's been out for a while. I hope to see him back soon. Nuno Santos should be back. He came on against Estoril, so
that's good. That's good news for you guys. He's been out for a long time.
Yeah, and I feel like last time I think we played, he might have scored or got an assist. I think he assisted Gyökeres's one before he got injured for the long time. I think the season before that he scored against you. So I think if there's anyone that would love to score against Porto, Nuno Santos would definitely be on the top of that list. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if there is any rotation.
No, famed Benfica fan, Nuno Santos. But I actually do quite like him, to be honest. He scored. I think he should have won the Puskas like a couple of years.
Yeah, 100%.
that goal was unbelievable. I was watching it live for some reason. I was like, let me put on Sporting, and I just couldn't believe that goal. But yeah, I think he's quite good. I'm glad he's back. I think these kind of players in the Portuguese league quite important, like for the quality of the league. Before we head out, let's go over some comments. Matt said, I thought Rosario was going to take Vidal's spot after his performance against Benfica in the last round, which I think was one of the best performances from a Porto player this season. I just think it's tough to actually. I think in the midfield, it's really good just to have multiple guys, and I think the only one we didn't have multiple guys for was Froholt's position, and now we got Fofana, and I think it's a really positive thing for us to have Rosario and Varela. One thing I'll quickly mention is I don't know how believable it is. I saw reports that because Miro from United apparently wants to go to Porto in summer. I don't know how believable it is. If that's true, I would send Varela packing because he's good, but he's not. There were points where people thought Varela was going to go to like Liverpool and stuff. I think his ceiling is a Porto. He's rumored to go to Galatasaray. I think that's his ceiling. Matt has said he believes Sporting going to win 2-1, but Porto doing just enough to give us a chance for the second half. I do believe that, and he does think that maybe we only see the game get lively in the last 10 minutes. I think that's quite fair. Are there any other things you want to mention quickly about the game or the next couple of games coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I know we said it last time we were here, but it feels like these next run of games will be the title deciders for both of us. Like I said, I know people say about Benfica, but they play today. Obviously, I don't know what the scoreline is going to be. Knowing my luck, they'll probably lose. But well, obviously, I want them to lose. But I do think you cannot count them out. I think if they take points from both of us, I think we're in trouble. Especially if they win both games, I think both of us are in trouble. And then Benfica get that extra bit of momentum. They're out of the European Cup. They're out of the any other cup. It's just one game a week for them from now on, which I think is a massive help to them. Obviously, I bet they would like to be in those competitions, but I think the amount of fatigue and time injuries they'll have is better for them. I really wouldn't cut them out, especially I think, if they do beat you on the weekend, I think it's open for grabs for all three of us, all three of the big three.
I do think that's fair. I just part of me just I don't know. I just don't think they're good enough. But you're right. We have all these games coming up. They don't. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I hope that you're wrong, and I hope they drop points today. I just think I would love it. I can't stand them, and as I said last time, as much as I want to beat them, and I do, and I hope we do, I also would think it's hilarious if they just finish undefeated and finish third. But I do think, I think it's gonna. You're right. They're probably still in it. I think it's. I don't see them beating you. I just don't.
I don't. But it's the Mourinho factor, man. If there was any other coach there, I would be like, you know what? I don't see it. But just with him, the mind games, just everything about Mourinho, especially recently. Like I grew up loving Mourinho. Now he's obviously at Benfica, and what's happened in the past few weeks. It's sort of made my respect for him dwindle a bit. Like he'd care anyway. But I don't know, man. I look at their team and you mentioned mentality monsters that Porto are. Benfica do have that to an extent as well. Maybe not as strongly, but you got guys like Otamendi, sort of South American flair. Otamendi, Richard Rios. These guys who go into every game wanting to take points. And yeah, man, if they do beat you on the weekend, I will be nervous for us because they'll only be. We've got the Braga game as well. So whatever happens there, they could be potentially 3 points behind us. They could be, less than that. Who knows? But I think I can't count them out just yet. If they lose today, maybe. But
you're right. You're right. You're right. I think that the game on the weekend is going to be it's going to be telling, and it's going to be quite important. I'm trying to feel confident about that game. And speaking of that game, a live preview will happen on this channel. Matt's going to be back, and he will be having a preview for the game. And before I go, he's sent a couple more comments. He said, Vitor Bruno or Anselmi diluted Varela. I agree to an extent, but I think even with Conceição, Varela just wasn't that good towards the end of Conceição's tenure. I just think he's someone that had a good first season, and maybe let that get to his head and maybe thought that he can get that move, and it just didn't happen. And then he said, Matt said, well, what month March can be for Portuguese football, and it's going to be a massive month, big games for both Porto and Sporting in the Champions League and the Europa League respectively. There's a chance both of us could go far. I think it's going to be, obviously, you guys play Braga, we play Benfica, we play Braga in the month as well. So it's going to be a very good month. Really excited about the football to come. It's going to be nerve-wracking as a Porto fan, but I think as a neutral, it's going to be good for the Portuguese league. And I do think this season has been a good season, barring the off-the-field drama. I think this has been a good year personally for Portuguese football, not just for the top three. I think it's been a good title race, but I do think there's been a lot of good stuff from kind of like from 4th to 8th. There's a race for the European spots there. I think there's a lot of I do think there's a lot of talent in the league. A lot of it left in January, but I do think we have a lot of talent in our league, and that's really always want to mention that because I don't know. I think it's an underrated league, and there's a reason why these teams get raided in every window because there's a lot of talent. It's just a shame. I made two videos in the beginning of January about the players that have impressed me in the Portuguese league. I think most of them moved, and most of them not even in the league anymore.
Clayton Andre Luiz being top of that list, I'd imagine.
Yeah, Zabiri left. He went to Rennes. There's a guy from Alverca who's really good called Alex Amorim. He went to Genoa. There's a lot of it. Like it was a lot of players that are good, a lot of talent, but there's still some more. And I think it'll be good second half of the season, or end of the season. But yeah, thanks, Sam, for joining me. Always a pleasure. Where can people find you?
You can find my personal, which is just my name, Sam Fonseca. We can find Sporting Podcast at All Things Alvalade. That will be sort of recapping the fixtures that happened. The personal one is just something I do for fun. Latest video is about Alvaro Pacheco, who is my favourite coach, maybe outside Sporting, maybe him and Ian Cathro are tied, but yeah, a great coach. An even better story that I didn't really know about. So yeah, really.
He's a great coach. He's a coach, obviously, that led Porto to their only loss in the league. He's a very good coach, and in Cathro I rate as well. There's something about Scottish geezer speaking Portuguese, fluent Portuguese, I think is pretty perfect. Then anyone catch me on TikTok with Paulo Talksport, on Twitter just Paulo Talks, but yeah, TikTok Paulo Talksport. And yeah, thanks Sam for coming on here. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully speak to you soon. Thank you guys.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.